How do you build trust with child who is scared of injections in hospital? This is a very important question because a lot of kids, when they see injection, they are crying initially itself. So what do you say?
Absolutely. I think it's a beautiful question because it's all about building a relationship with a child. That's the reason usually if it's the first visit to the pediatrician and the first visit happens to be a vaccination, I usually take a little bit of time. I build a rapport. You should actually come to my outpatients. You would see that there's a little library, there is all those various toys, and we spend that little extra minute building that relationship with the child. And then I tell them, so you want to become stronger? I know how strong you are and we will take it. Most of the parents, you know what they'll say? They'll say, ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಹೋಗು madam ಹತ್ರ, madam chocolate ಕೊಡ್ತಾರೆ. I said, ಯಾಕೆ ಸುಳ್ಳು ಹೇಳ್ತೀರಾ? ನಾನು chocolate ಕೊಡೋದಿಲ್ಲ, ನಾನು ಸ್ಟಾರ್ ಕೊಡ್ತೀನಿ ನಿಮಗೆ. And you know, you have to be truthful and you have to tell the older children, I tell them, okay, let's start. You start counting from 20 backwards or from 100 backwards. And they are in that spin. And quickly I finish the vaccination. And then they say, oh, it's done.
So it's all about diverting their mind.
Yes, diverting their mind, making them less anxious. The fear of the vaccine is far more painful than the actual little prick. That prick is nothing at all, actually.
Yes, correct. Yeah. Also, something very interesting I wanted to ask, is there anything which a child has told you which has been very funny and it really made your day?
My day, of course, I'll tell you. I think each of them make my day every day. But the cutest thing is when these little boys, you know, they're just about 2 years old. They're playing in the OPD and I'm having a serious discussion with the parents on what to feed and how to increase their protein and everything. And they want certain toys. They just, you know, they are calling the nurse auntie and the nurse is trying to help them out. And suddenly they randomly look at me and say, Akka? And then I'm like, oh yes, they said Akka to me. And the parents, this has happened like multiple times. And I wait to go and tell my family, oh look, they said Akka to me.
Yeah, that's kind of a very good connection you build into them, you know, that's very important. Now talking about a very important topic which is to do with food, and a lot of kids have an issue eating food. So what do you tell parents? How do they tackle this situation?
I think we need to go to the root cause of the concern. Now we are actually in a cusp, the phase where we are moving from little toddlers where the parents are always concerned they are not eating enough, they are picking on their food, to adolescents where the parents are absolutely concerned that they are actually overeating junk, they are eating the wrong type of foods and they would not touch the home-based food at all. So there's completely different problems in different age groups. The problem in pediatrics is we deal from day 0 till 18 years of life. So it's a spectrum of children. Now, I think in India, food is a very, I should say, very rooted in our culture. It's so important. We give so much of importance to food. No other Western culture. I did my training in the UK and they don't give that much importance to food. They give a particular time, they give it to the child decides. And we are all like, food is everything.
Food is like the most important thing. I mean, even if the kids are going to school, more than their bag, the food should be the priority is what I've seen.
Absolutely. And you know, the behavior almost continues where the wife literally feeds the husband. So no, it goes up to there. That's how much importance to food. So I think most parents of the younger children are more concerned about the quantity, whereas the older, we are more worried about the quality, to put it in a snapshot. So when we come to the younger ones, I think it's very important for us to cultivate the behavior of knowing when the child is hungry. The child needs to know, not the mother.
Yes.
So now mothers are very, very smart. They are like AI, you know, they know everything about their baby. They would know, oh, actually, ma'am, now he's a bit hungry. That's why he's behaving like this. Let the child understand his hunger cues. So it's very important that parents allow babies to understand when they are hungry and when they are full. You know, in India, including me, we all are waiting with a plate just to go and feed the child. And I think it's also rooted in guilt, especially for working parents, that the moment they see the child, then, you know, they mix food. I have a 19-year-old and I still would love to, you know, feed her. And she says, Mommy, please,
yes.
You know.
That's very like a cultural thing is what you say, right? In India, that's the main thing which people, but according to you, what is a balanced diet for children? Because nowadays with the kind of food what we are looking at, you know, outside, What do you think should be the important part there?
Yeah, that's a very important question. And I do this a lot in schools. I teach the child themselves rather than the parent. I think we all need to adopt this way of eating. So a lot of medical research onto the amount of carbohydrates or proteins or nutrients we need to eat has gone in over the years. And I think to put it as a simple formula, even if you go by the recent Indian Council for Medical Research, the ICMR study, which came out just last year, it gives us a lot of insight on how our food plate should look, how much a balanced diet should look. So to put it in a very simple way, whether you have a lunchbox or a plate, half the plate should actually be fruit and veggies.
Fruit and veggies.
In any form. It could be a salad, it could be part of raita, it could be the palya, what we eat, or it could be even part of the curry. But half the plate should have fruits and vegetables in any form. Okay? Now, only quarter of our box or plate should be the grains, be it rice or ragi, wheat, etc. And the same amount of carbs that we eat should be the proteins, like the kalu, the pulses, the legumes, and paneer, soya, or meats, etc. And the fifth element should be a cup of dairy, which is basically yogurt or curds. So these are the 5 elements that have to be on our food plate. So if you simplify this, in a child's lunchbox, commonly what do we send? We would send, let's say, a chitrana or a puliyogare or a lemon rice or something like that. Now let's look at it in this formula. What does it have? It mainly has grains, which is the carbohydrate, which is like 90% of what they eat. There may be about 10 groundnuts in it, which is a bit of protein. What happens to the veggies? What happens to the fruit? And the rest, the protein is not balanced with the carbs. That's where we are going wrong. That's where children are moving to obesity and they are being overfed but undernourished. They're not getting their nutrients. So how I would modify that is, I would add probably paneer to it, or I would add chunks of soya into my puliyogare, or if it doesn't gel well, just add chana. Kabuli chana is an excellent source of protein. And if you just mix that up with the rice or have a bowl of boiled chana or sprouts, you're done with. Your protein is taken care of. And make sure you send some salad, be it cucumber or anything, and a fruit. It's compulsory. So when they have that, they're having all the element and a little bit of curds, either as a buttermilk or plain curds. Perfect. Then the lunchbox is done.
Just one doubt I had was, when we are eating food, should we avoid fruits or can we eat fruits? Because some people say that it doesn't go well with digestion, but I'm not too sure.
Okay, so basically we would always like to start with the fiber first. It kind of makes you a little bit full, etc. For the older people, adolescents especially, and us, where we want to balance how we eat and how much we eat. So you could start with whatever fruit that you have, as well as your salad, and then go on to the meal, which is basically your grains and the proteins, and finish it up with some yogurt or curds. That's how I would do it. Yeah.
Perfect. And also, is milk really essential or it's overhyped? I mean, these days there are so many videos you see online. So what would you tell,
That's like a controversy number 1 question. However, the way I would approach it is, see, milk is an essential part of a childhood diet. But in what form? Now, I would suggest curds freshly prepared at home, probiotic rich, is excellent. So children must consume curds. And I'm reiterating, it has nothing to do with cold and cough. Okay. Yes, curds can be eaten even when you have fever, even when you have a cold and cough. And most children, including children with wheezing or coughing, can have curds at room temperature when made at home. That's what research says. It actually improves your gut immunity and prevents further infections. But when curds is directly consumed from the fridge, or it is packaged, or it is the sweetened yogurts, I'm not in favor of that at all. Okay, so the first thing is, milk when consumed as curds is very good. 1 glass of milk per day is acceptable, preferably not at night, because it tends to increase reflux. And now ಹೇಳ್ತೀವಲ್ಲ ಕಫ ಕಟ್ಕೊಳ್ಳುತ್ತೆ ಅಂತ, that is because the milk tends to reflux and forms a little bit of phlegm. There are research papers that show that milk consumption is related to increased mucus production. So I'm not a fan of giving more than 1 glass of milk a day. And what you add to the milk is important. Most of the commercially available powders which have tall claims are not really true. They are mostly carbohydrate or sugar driven. So just plain milk or milkshake with one of the fruit, that's how I can push the fruit into the child, or even a dry fruit powder with some makhana powder which you make at home is perfect. So 1 glass of milk and curds with the meals, I think should sort you out.
Should sort. And also milkshakes are okay with fruits, because they say sometimes, some of them say that fruits should not be mixed with milk.
You could. Certain types of fruits go well with milk, and you're absolutely fine to do that, and add some dry fruits to it as well. I just want to reinforce one point. Now, most of us are trying to go organic and go wholesome, which is a great thing. But some of the concepts, like in milk, I've noticed that many parents want to adopt a life where they are giving fresh milk from cows and buffaloes to their child. Now remember, that is unpasteurized milk. It runs the risk of certain infections like bovine tuberculosis or cow TB that can happen to the child. We have seen cases in our hospital where the child is coming with on and off fever, glands in the neck, not diagnosed for months together, and then we figured it out that the child is consuming unpasteurized milk. So always remember, the dairy milk, the milk that is coming from a good dairy, is pasteurized. It is meant to kill most of the harmful spores and bacteria. It is safe to consume and is very good. Now, if you really want to go, you get organic pasteurized milk, yes, and which you can adopt.
So that's a choice what a parent can choose from there. Yeah.
Yes.
And regarding, there are so many supplements, powders for kids. What would you tell, or what would you recommend?
Okay, so let me ask you a question. I can give you medicines for anything, medicines to look beautiful, to become tall, to get the perfect weight. How long are you going to take medicines? You want it to happen from a natural source, from what is sustainable. So most of these powders, etc., are a quick fix. They're a stopgap, and I have used them for certain children who are discharged from the ICU, who, they can't really maintain their nutritional needs. We use them after an illness for some amount of time to give them more calories or more protein. But I always tell them, this is coming from a packet, so this is artificial, it's extra. You'll have to adopt it to your diet, to the natural way. That is sustainable.
Yeah, so it's supplement. So supplement is like how we don't go through exams, so we get another supplement. So basically, it's just a supplement which is just like 20% or 10%. I would say that kind of a thing, what you suggest, right? What's a quick tip for you for struggling kids, with meals, especially these days with the social media on the phone? They are watching and then they are eating, or else they don't eat.
Oh my God, yes. Before I come to the quick tip, I just want to reinforce that if there is one takeaway from this discussion that we are having, the podcast we are having, I think parents should understand that feeding in front of screens and eating in front of screens is one of the worst things that we can do. There are a lot of problems with it. The first and most important problem is that we are feeding the child through distraction. Feeding or eating, self-eating, is a developmental milestone. For example, if a baby can't walk at let's 2 years, every parent is worried. Even the doctor is worried. You can't walk. And if I put the child on a walker and am I happy and saying the child is walking? No, the child is not walking on his own. So feeding is exactly like that. If we keep feeding with distraction, we are artificially doing it. The child is not developed that milestone of eating on his own. So first we need to understand that. Secondly, distraction does two things. One, it takes away the feeling of I am hungry and I am full. Both are gone. So what a parent does, he doesn't know when he's full. We just keep giving till our bowl is enough, and you're so satisfied that that big bowl of rich food that you've made has been given. But that habit persists for life. And that's when children result in obesity. They don't understand the hunger cues. They don't understand when they're full. Second important thing, they look at food for gratification. Now, when they are watching a TV or when they're watching the screen and their favorite cartoons are playing, they're all high energy cartoons which stimulate the brain and release all those dopamine and all the various hormones. That is not what it should be. We should actually, I keep telling my daughters, they should approach food with gratitude. They should have a relationship with food and not distraction.
In fact, in our Indian culture, we have a prayer before we start.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. In some form, most cultures have it. It's just died with time. So I think feeding in front of screens for younger children definitely takes away their hunger and fullness cues, and it prevents that important milestone from developing. So I know a parent will struggle initially because they've already shown the screen. Now they say, Madam, uta madala madam, nan idu YouTube toslilla andre, idu cartoon toslilla. So I say, okay, I have through research what a parent can do. So the first thing is, the best way is to not do it, to actually have a book or a storytelling or some music, and basically the child needs attention. The child needs to feel good while eating. They can replace it. But if they are struggling during the initiation, they can show the TV, and when they show it, it should not be some high impact cartoon. It should be something gentle like meadows and nature and animals, which are soothing, which don't stimulate the child too much, not their favorite cartoons, etc. And once the child initiates the feeding, slowly you start talking to the child, distract the child and switch that off. And later, gradually reduce the time and stop it. Other time, they would eat because they are hungry for the first part. After that, they say, Beda. And then they will walk away. That's when you can probably go back to showing the screen, these gentle things, and then slowly reduce the time for that. That is what research has shown. Now, that is for younger children. But for older children, like adolescents, they say, "You time illa now tuition hogbeku. This is the only time I have." That's what my daughter says. Only when I'm eating, I have time. I say, no, you finish your eating and then go. Because at that age, the TV acts as hypnosis. The TV is working on their brain and making them want to choose junk food. Even if they are not eating junk food, advertisements is literally 50% of what you see.
Absolutely.
When they show that, that ice cream and those cakes and the chicken and everything, they want to eat that.
Yeah.
So that's when it wires them differently. And then they start choosing those kind of food. So obesity is strongly linked to eating. Their meal time, which would have been about 15 to 17 minutes, would go to 40 minutes easily just because they're watching the screen. And that increases sedentary behavior and so many other things. No eating in front of screens.
This is like a very important point, all about how can we slowly get them out of that, because once who is already habituated,
Yes,
it's
yes.
like an addiction.
Yes.
It's like without TV I can't watch. And they cry and they get cranky. So it's just like how an addiction is. How
Yes,
do you
it
get
is.
them out of it is a big task. A lot of them face. Are kids facing more emotional pressure and stress these days compared to previously?
Yeah, I think my husband always says, I really feel bad for the children nowadays because they are in a world of dramatic distractions. Everything around them is distracting them. You stand in a shop, you have the most attractive candies and chocolates and chewing gums and everything trying to entice them. And you are in school and the pressure of everyone bringing different colors of bags and everything around them is very distracting. Whereas in our time, things were so simple. There was just one Doordarshan, and there was a lot of time, no tuitions, to play, etc. So I think emotional pressure is definitely there because of media, because of peers, because of trends, because of challenges. They are doing all sorts of things now. The most important way, I would say, to recognize our children are facing these emotional pressures and to actually prevent them is a mindful living. So we need to at a very early stage have that communication on with the child. Like it could be the non-negotiable dinner time or a breakfast time where we just keep that communication going. It can be silly things, it can be whatever they want to talk. That's when they kind of release their inner struggles or their frustration or their happiness or their fears. Somewhere it comes out subtly and we should pick that up. So yeah, emotional pressure is there and it's okay for them to face it. and we and it's okay for us to tell them we don't know the answer. So we will work it out together. That's what I do.